Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael, and I have another movie review for you, this time for a 2009 children's horror movie, which was, kind of shocking that this was made, and kind of for kids. It's PG-13, so maybe it's not for kids, but 13, you're still basically a kid. Get over it. Anyway, this is a 2009 film produced by Tim Burton himself and written by the young lady who brought us Monster House and Corpse Bride, which I've never seen, and this is called Nine. Now this has quite an all-star cast too, to be surprised. This is an hour and 20 minutes and it flies by for the most part. It feels like a full-length movie, but you know, it zooms by on the pacing. It stars Elijah Wood, Jennifer Connelly, Crispin Glover of all people, Christopher Plummer, Martin Landau, John C. Reilly, Alan Oppenheimer, Tom Kane, and the list goes on, man. It's not even a big cast, but it's a lot of big names in the cast. This is based on a short film by the same name, I'm assuming from the guy who directed it. And like I said, it is a CGI animated film. There are so many subgenres blended into this movie, and I will argue till the day I die, this is a children's horror movie. This is scary in a lot of ways. It would have terrified me if I was a kid back then seeing this. I would have been probably about 15, I want to say. 14, 15, somewhere in there. This movie would have creeped me out. I would have been able to handle it because I was a teenager, but this movie would have creeped me out if I was a small child seeing this movie because of how unnerving some of the imagery is. This film does not shy away from death and stealing of souls and a lot of eerie shit. It's also a post-apocalyptic children's film. Yes, a post-apocalyptic film. Has a lot of steampunk elements in there too, in case you like that. And kind of like a fantasy adventure film in not a huge vast location because the entire world is basically dead. I think this is like if World War II became nuclear, that everyone on the planet, I'm assuming humanity-wise, are dead. There was, I guess, a few people around, but not really in the movie itself. There was one particular guy, a doctor or whatever he was, that was actually taking these little rag dolls and bringing them to life, and the last one he brought to life was number 9, who was our main character, Elijah Wood plays, and he dies, apparently, before Elijah Wood wakes up. So Elijah Wood's 9 character wakes up and begins to wander around by himself. We see the world and how empty and just creepy and brown and gray and black and green everything is. There are no plants, trees, and of course these little ragdoll characters don't have to eat, but he begins to go on a small journey. He encounters one guy who was also a ragdoll, and each of their names are the number that they have stitched into their back. And there's different ones, there's tall ones, there's obnoxious ones that I can't stand, like John C. Reilly's character. I'm not a John C. Reilly guy anyway, but he's a lot of extra in this movie, just so you know. And apparently there was not only like a nuclear threat, there was like a threat like a Terminator threat. Like there's robots and AI and shit that came to life of all the times to be talking about this movie. They came to life and I guess exterminated humanity because of some kind of threat it perceived, like a fucking Skynet issue, and they killed everybody. And the ragdolls are like the only things around with some kind of soul to them. And they begin to kind of group up to try to survive in this situation. And they encounter a lot of things, man. And it's got some tense moments to it. It's not the best movie ever, and frankly, I think it's a little messy sometimes with the storytelling. It's a lot of show don't tell, and I respect that quite a bit. For a teenager film, there's apparently a reason that when I was a teen, no one was talking about this movie. Not children, not adults. If you told me this movie completely flopped in the box office, and I haven't done any research on that, I would believe you, because there's a lot of stretches of time that can be up to 10 minutes of people not really talking or saying anything, whether it be Elijah Wood's character or the other characters. Everybody gives a fine performance, by the way. They're not amazing, they're not bad. John C. Reilly is pretty bad, but I think it's more the writing than him, to be fair. This was at that time with him and Will Ferrell that they were in everything and they were popular for some reason. I like Will Ferrell and I like maybe 1 or 2 performances from John C. Reilly. I'm not hating on the guy, just hating on the movies that he does and the roles he plays. He's usually annoying. So this film can be dragged down quite a bit. I am not a fan of it, per se, but I do respect and admire a lot of the things in it. Most of the CGI animation looks really good, aside from like 1 or 2 human faces that are in here that look really shitty. And maybe it's a stylistic thing I just don't like. That's probably what it is, matter of fact, if I'm really thinking about it and being honest with myself. But I can't do that always, right? The writing in here is not amazing, and for it to be such a short-paced film, it kind of feels like they're taking a short film that could have been 40 minutes at maximum and really trying to stretch it out. You have the kumbaya, sit-around campfire moments, too. You have the strong female lead, like Jennifer Connelly's character. You have a lot of things like that in this film. It's not great, but it's definitely not a bad time. I think you could watch this if you're one of those people like me who always kind of wanted to see this film just out of immense curiosity because it looked kind of scary back in the day. You didn't really have a whole lot of CGI animated horror films. This was one of the earliest ones I remember seeing when I was growing up. If you're one of those people like me who always wanted to see this just out of curiosity and the Tim Burton name involvement, maybe you'll want to watch this. Maybe. It's a big-ass maybe, but it's a maybe nonetheless. Because I thought it was fine. I thought it was good, but really fine more so than good. It wasn't the most engaging thing ever. It just has some cool moments to it. But the steampunk element is what I really appreciate about this film. You don't really see that a whole lot, much less in kids' films and shows and whatever. This was kind of unique, I will say that. A very unique idea, but let me tell you, a very creepy idea. There are moments in here that kind of put a chill down my spine, just a little bit. Not that that's really what I watch movies for, or horror films much less. It's really about if I can have that evoked out of me by a film, children's film or otherwise, I think it's worth mentioning, to be honest with you. I will say, too, the soundtrack is not heavily in this. There's not a big score, really. When it's there, it's pretty decent, but most of the time it's really quiet. The whole movie overall, not much talking until we get into the big group of people, then John C. Reilly's rambling fucking always, like this review. But most of the time it's just people quietly trying to sneak around here, sneak around there because of what's going on with the AI invasion or whatever. It's pretty interesting, man. It has some moments. I do recommend it if you happen to be the kind of person that this sounds like it might appeal to. Do I recommend it? To the right person. Is this a hidden horror movie review? Obviously not, because I didn't intro the video that way, but I wouldn't call it that. It's just really mediocre, if I'm being honest with you. Not a bad movie, just mediocre. It's fine, it's something to kill some time with. So anyway, if I had to recommend 9, I'd recommend it to the people who always thought this seemed interesting and never watched it. You know, but I don't think you're going to be a die-hard fan of this, to be honest with you. It's one of those movies I'm not going to keep in my collection. I just don't see a reason to. I'll never rewatch this. It's one of those ones that it was a good one-time watch, and that was it for me. So that kind of, I think, drags down the review a little bit. But, you know, it was something. It was something to watch this past weekend for a horror movie review for the channel, and, you know, I didn't hate it. So check it out if you haven't seen it before and you wanted to. That's about all I can say. When it comes to 9, if I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it a really even 3 out of 5 stars. Nothing too high, nothing too low. It's not going to be for everybody. It's absolutely not going to be for everybody, and frankly, it's kind of weird and depressing at times, which I'm cool with. Don't get me wrong, I'm an edgelord myself, but it ain't going to be for everybody, just so you know. But it was interesting. Interesting watch, nonetheless. So anyway, have you seen 9? What do you think about it? Is it one of your favorite Tim Burton films, despite him not directing this? But his involvement shines over this movie. I think most people can watch this and see that Tim Burton aesthetic, that gothic nature of this movie. And I think a lot of people will like that if you happen to be a Tim Burton person. Is this one of your favorites? Is this your favorite animated, whether it be stop motion or CGI or anything, movie that he's ever done? I'd love to hear all that down below too. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.